If you take the example of people who are super extremely rich and still feel like something is missing. Why? Because they don't have the sense that it has achieved them anything. They have no control, no power, anything, so they feel useless. So that's why even there's someone to donate to charities and blah blah blah, because it makes them feel a little bit of some kind of control, some kind of power. Even when they help someone else, there is that feeling, you know, of I can help this, so I can control. It always comes down to that. That's why there's the famous follow the money. Then you have the answer to many of the world's evils and trouble. Follow the money. So the same thing with the ODYSEE. Where does the power lie? Where does the real power lie? Then you understand why the ODYSEE function that way. Like you see, for example, a 20-year-old person feels bad in front of an 18-year-old person. I was working as a counselor, therapist at Fred Finch Youth Center on Coolidge and MacArthur in Oakland. You know them, right? Yeah, I worked with them for 2 years after I was working with Grant Grover Day Treatment in the one in Marine. I forgot that big major non-profit that take care of mental health in Marine there. I forgot the Sunny Hills Services. So that was my first job in America. When I first moved to America, 2007, that was my first job as a counselor, school counselor at a special school, Grant Grover Day Treatment School. That's where I started. And then after a year, I just tired to commute, so I quit. And because I lived in Oakland, so I applied. And because from my home, because I lived on Kern Way. Kern Way is just like that Coolidge and MacArthur right next there. So I walked 2-3 minutes or 5 from my home to work. So I used to work with them there. There was a young girl, Stephanie. She just graduated from Berkeley. She was 22 or 23. She just graduated with a bachelor from Berkeley. And we were taking care of some kids there. One was 18. And he had hard time exercising. He would get tired too quickly. And she told me, oh, it makes me feel so good about myself. Because I thought I was already, I feel like I'm already so old when she's only 23. But when she compared herself to an 18-year-old, she feels very old. Because the 18-year-old guy is young. But because he can't exercise, he's tired, it makes her feel better. So you can see, on a toujours besoin d'un plus petit que soi, in French. We always need a weaker side to evaluate our own. So, and you see, a 35-year-old person will feel older in front of a 20, 25, but younger in front of a 40, 45, or 50, and so on and so forth. So, the more or a healthy person will feel much better when he sees somebody who's so sick that they can't even walk. Then they make them feel good about themselves. So there is that dynamic. Like when you evaluate yourself in relation to someone who is less than you, it makes you feel good about you in some ways. Not always, but in some ways. Right? You say, okay, it could be better. I shouldn't complain too much because it could be better. So the idea of progress now helps to explain. That is actually the takeaway of this chapter. The idea of progress helps to explain to Europeans in what way they are superior. Because if they can present progress to other cultures, because that progress comes from their culture, and they can present that and make other culture want it, and because they hold it, that will now convince them that they're superior. So they have to be able to use that idea of progress, so in a way that present them as superior. They believe and are able to make others believe, right? They first believe themselves. They believe that for sure. We are a great culture because we invented everything and created all of this beauty in the world. We did that. So they believe it themselves, and then they convince others that your betterment is to be like us, to do this thing that we have done. You must, if you want to be like us. That then they convince others your ways are primitive. your ways, what you do, what your culture does is primitive. The only way for you out of misery and primitive life and all this is to follow us. And as soon as you follow, you become the follower. You become the follower, and then the other one that you're following is the superior, the guide. Yeah. Okay, so we'll stop here. So yeah, they make order to believe that since they represent the most progressive force at any given moment, the European, they are most human, therefore best. Others in the world represent varying degrees of inferiority. That's where we end, but that is I know it's too much to take. So yeah, so